You're listening to CIUT 89.5 FM. This is Donna G, the more the merrier, at the 2017 Toronto International Film Festival. With me is director Asa Helga Hjorleifsdottir to talk about her film, The Swan. Asa, welcome to Toronto.
Thank you.
Your film, The Swan, is based on a very famous Icelandic novel. What made you want to turn this novel into a film?
When I read the novel, one of the things I loved about it the most was how all the characters, they're not just one thing. They have these multi-dimensional feel, and I love that you have this character that's kind of lacking boundaries in a way, but that, this character of the farmhand in the film, he's sort of can't help himself from himself sometimes, but at the same time he's really he has like a rigid attitude towards his writing, and it's very disciplined in other ways. And the main character, she's so wise. She's like a poet child, but then also she's a kid, and she's also really she's naive in some ways, of course. And so I loved how multidimensional the characters were, and I think that and how fluid their emotional life is in the book. And I think that sometimes in cinema you get the feeling that you can't have as complex of an emotional life as in literature, that somehow you have characters that experience if you have characters experiencing emotions on screen, there's a kind of finality to it. When they're happy, once they're happy, period. Once they're sad, period. But I feel like, or my experience in life is that, it's sometimes just, you're in like a constant state of emotional flux, and in this book it's so beautifully fluid in that way, and I was interested in seeing how the camera, how the cinematic medium could really, illustrate that or highlight that, and how, if the characters can be seen as a diamond having many sides, and how the light and the camera can sort of shed light on all of those sides, and not simplifying them.
When you adapt somebody else's work, what is the process of obtaining the rights to the novel, or is it public domain already?
No, this book was not in public domain. There was actually competition about the rights. I mean, when I first started adapting it, I was a student at Columbia, and I took a course in adaptation with my professor Stephen Moulton, and we, so it started as a school project, but then I totally fell in love with it, and wanted to make it something more, and so I began pursuing the rights, and the writer was he was interested in what I was doing in the script, and so he was very positive. But then later on, there were suddenly 2 or 3 other people that wanted the rights, so I had to convince him and everyone involved that I was the right person to do this, and somehow it worked, and so, but I think after that it was pretty similar to what I imagine it is here. You pay for a certain amount of time, and you pay the publishing house, and yeah.
So how long did it take you to go from adaptation to an actual screenplay that you could work with?
It's a little bit hard to say, because I was working on it, over a long period of time, where I was also, doing other things, my thesis film from Columbia and other screenplays. But I'd say 2 years, also because it had been a passion project, starting in school, and sort of always somewhere in my mind. But then in 2014 it really became serious, because then it was selected for the Jerusalem International Film Lab and the Berlinale co-production market, the talent project market. And so suddenly there was I had the chance to work with great script editors, the script editor Claire Downs in Jerusalem, and then at the Berlinale, lots of great input there, and that's also when we got the grant from the Iceland Film Fund to actually make the film.
Now, tell me about working with your cinematographer on the look of the film.
Yeah, so we have German co-production funding in the film, and the cinematographer is from Germany, and so I went to Hamburg and met him, and we already there I thought we had a sort of a similar aesthetic, based on our short films, and then when he came to Iceland a few times for prep, we went to the location and we sort of planned it out, but then I think we were very ambitious with many of the things we wanted to do, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the end result.
This film has a very dreamlike quality to it as well, because we're seeing through the eyes of a 9-year-old girl, and she's got an imagination. Tell me about working with your young actress.
Yes, Gríma Valsdottir. She was 11 when we shot the film, and she and I had done a short film together before this, and really, we really had a pre-existing bond, because of the short film, and the short had kind of been a secret audition to see, if this girl could carry a feature, and she certainly, can, and I think, she's so smart, and she's so she's such an old soul, and she really is so intuitive that it was really easy to work with her, and she never does anything she doesn't believe, she doesn't go, she'll think about stuff I say and then do it in such a graceful way, and always staying true to her, conviction. But I think, also we kind of became friends, and we were really, I became younger working with her, and, we would talk about our favorite TV shows and like pizza toppings, and, we just had like a really casualness to our relationship, and if the days were getting long, we would like dance sometimes like crazy in between takes, just to get up some energy, and we had like I almost feel like she's my younger sister, or so I think maybe that trust and sort of equality between us was probably even more important than the actual rehearsals or going through the script with her.
The outdoor sequences, and especially the I want to focus on the water sequences. How difficult were they to capture the way you envisioned?
Yes, that was certainly a challenge. I mean, we had some options. We were trying to create basically the illusion that we were in the ocean or on the bottom of the ocean, and we had some options. In Iceland we have lots of geothermal natural pools that look very dreamy and strange, but they can be really hot, like dangerously hot. And so in the end, we actually, my amazing production designer and her team made an ocean in this small pool, like indoor pool that was close to where we were shooting, and put some kind of black wrap around it so it was dark, and brought in seaweed and brought in all kinds of things, and so it was really, really amazing actually. So and that exceeded any of my dreams of how it would be.
Hearing how you put it together, I'm even more impressed because the shots are so beautiful. Now, this story has a few main focuses, but Saul, who is the 9-year-old girl, but there's also the farmer and the wife, and I've read that it is or was common for young people who got into trouble to be sent to farms. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so even if you hadn't gotten into trouble, it's been a strong tradition in Iceland because Iceland was has such a rural community really until maybe around 1950. Reykjavik, our capital, started to grow, but up until then, the majority of the people lived in the countryside, and was this sense that, you know, you're not really you can't, you know, you don't really know the world really, or at least you're not like a proper worker until you've worked in the countryside. That's kind of like the real test of you know I don't know what to say, like test of fire, or, you know, it's kind of, so for the longest time, and this only recently began to fade. I mean, even my generation still, you know, was still maybe sent to the countryside for the summer. So for the longest time, kids would be sent for the summer to work and to mature, to distant relatives, and, you know, probably around, you know, in my parents' generation, then it would maybe, you know, usually be the whole summer, like 3 months, and then now, and, you know, but lately, for example, my generation, it's maybe a bit shorter, just like a little sneak peek into country life before you go back to your, you know, safe.
Now, in the film, the young girl is set in the midst of some very adult situations. How did you work with your young actress to sort of deal with those issues?
Well, I was lucky because Grima is just so perceptive and smart and wise beyond her years. So, and her parents were so wonderful. Also, you know, were with us all the time on set, and you know, just coaching her a little bit. Also, you know, when I wasn't able to through the scenes. I think we just sort of we would talk about them. We would make a plan for her character. But not really overcomplicating it too much. And, you know, if I felt like, you know, because mostly it seemed to me that she understood her character perfectly, and I think that children can be. I mean, they are so wise in some way, and I think that she didn't have many problems, you know, needing guidance through them. But I think, you know, it was good just to have a plan and know, you know, what was going to happen, and know what was going to, you know, what her character was supposed to do. And it's kind of funny because we watched it together here at TIFF, and then also before we came, and I noticed that she put like a blanket over her head for certain scenes that even, you know, that she even acted in and knew perfectly well, you know, how they would turn out.
Tell me about her relationship with the actor who plays John, because in the film, in the book, they share a room, and there are times when she's in the bed with him. So tell me about how they develop their comfort level for those scenes.
We would have a really closed set for those scenes. First of all, you know, it would just be them and me, and just the very, you know, people that needed to be there. The actor playing Jón Þorvaldur Davíð, he's also just a wonderful person. Studied at Juilliard, and he was really, you know, he's also a father, and I think there was great just comfort between them, and, you know, humor, and, you know, she felt really comfortable with him, and that helped tremendously. And we would also, we would just sort of work our way up to, you know, the action of the scene, making sure everybody was comfortable, and treating it really delicately, you know, and it didn't become such a problem.
How did you get actor Ingvar Sigurdsson?
Yes, he's the star. He's our most famous actor. I think I sent him the script, and then we met for coffee, and, you know, he mentioned something like, you know, you realize I've played, you know, a farmer many times before, and he was sort of, you know, thinking about it, but he was really drawn to the script. He was drawn to this creative world of Sol, the girl, and I think he just really believed in the film, and that it could be a little bit different, also that it could be poetic and sort of a unlike the other films where he might felt like that he played similar roles. But I can't say really more than that. But for some reason I was lucky enough to get him.
Now, this book is very famous in Iceland and in the English literary world because it's been translated. How do you think the Icelandic people will view your film?
I am really curious to find out. I hope that, up until now there haven't been that many women making films also, and I know from test screenings that that's something that people find a nice addition about this film, that female audiences have said to me, it's really great to have all these female characters and that they can relate to, but aesthetically I'm really curious, because I think it is different, but maybe everyone feels that way about their film, but I think there's something. I haven't seen this kind of film before in Iceland, but I can tell you that the writer has seen it, and that was the person that I was most nervous about showing, and he has certainly given his green light and is very happy with it, even if it's a sometimes wildly free adaptation. I really took many liberties.
Right, because in the book the characters don't have names, and you've named them.
Well, yes, that was one thing, but they actually don't have names now in the final film. They have names in the descriptions of the characters, because it gets so confusing and in the screenplay they had the names, but now in the final end credits I just stick to how it is in the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I saw the pre-cut.
Yes. Okay.
So, interesting that you've taken the names out.
Yeah, so it's just now the girl, the daughter, the farmhand, etc.
Very interesting. So, you've said that this is a story of human beings lost and found in nature. What do you mean by that?
I mean that there's a lot of nature in the film, and I mean, coming from Iceland, there's just it's sometimes hard to separate yourself from all the tremendously wild, crazy nature we have, and but I wasn't interested in having nature being like a pretty backdrop in the film. I wanted to really connect it to the characters, because I feel like the story is about how our emotional life can also be a wilderness, and this parallel between human nature and nature, and how so the metaphor of the constant reminder throughout the film of the and in the book of the nature around surrounding the farm and the characters is really connected to the this wilderness that our emotional life is. And so to me, I feel like all the characters are kind of struggling with this conflict between what's expected of you versus what you maybe really want or really feel or really think. And especially you can see it in the character of the daughter, who is has this front of being like the perfect daughter, and then it turns out she has all these problems, but at the end of the day, she too kind of wants to be normal and is struggling with this trying to find the balance. And so I think that this lost and found in nature is that it's realizing that you can't escape the dark sides in you, and that you have, maybe you need all sides of the diamond. Maybe you need a little bit of devil, need a little bit of angel, maybe you need them all to survive. And that's what Sol is, or the girl is, learning this summer also.
Well, you definitely don't shy away from giving us shots of nature, the cruelty and just the reality of it, the slaughtering of a calf, the cow sort of looking for her child. How important was it to have those sequences in your film?
Oh, I think it was crucial, because it's all about this circle of life, and bringing us back to this idea that our emotional lives are fluid, and that that it's in this constant state of flux, just like the ocean, and that, you know, you feel things, or you think something is the end, and then it's maybe a new beginning, or you know, that there's not this kind of finality, and you can see it in nature so well, and in the life of the animals, and life on the farm, when you have, you know, life and death constantly, you know. And I think people, you know, I noticed when we were shooting, you know, how for example, the kids in the countryside, they are, you know, they're so much more used to this, and they're so much more aware in a way of this circle of life than I think many, you know, city people are. You know, they just go to the store and buy their meat and
Right. There's the disconnect between what we eat and our food source. And it's all enmeshed in nature. And you've done a wonderful job of reminding us of the state where we come from as humans, you know, just being part of nature, and the fact that we've stepped away from it a bit. And now, as you said, the nature is inside us. So congratulations on getting that across.
Thank you so much.
So how have things been for you at the Toronto Film Festival?
Oh, they've been great. You know, the audience is so wonderful. We had our premiere yesterday on the 10th, and I was just so happy. You know, it's also just so wonderful to know, you know, this is kind of the first time we screen the film to a room full of people that aren't, you know, test audiences or crew members, and you know, it was great to see how many laughs the film got, because it's kind of, in many ways, it's a dark film, but there, you know, every single tiny moment of humor that I you know, hoped to come across somehow, you know, worked, which is such a relief. And I think that can also come across more on the big screen sometimes, you know, when you watch it with full audio. And the questions were great from the audience, and I certainly hope that, you know, that the film will be received as well as it was yesterday. And yeah, it's been great. And then, you know, I'm excited for the screening tomorrow also.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.